Welcome to the Midi collection window tutorial. The collection window is exactly what it sounds like, a collection of patches, banks, basically any kind of Midi data that you want to hold and in any order that you want to hold it. So you could have a collection of, say, all different DX7 voice banks, or this is most commonly used for is a collection of all the different data files, be it sequences, banks, individual patches, that are necessary to restore all of your instruments to a particular state for a particular piece of music. Now, a collection is created by going to the File menu, pointing to New, choosing Collection, and there's your collection window. You can have as many collection windows open in MidiQuest at a time as you like. Each collection can have essentially as many different data files in it as you would like. Now, there actually is a hard limit. That is about 36,000 entries. Not a limit you're ever likely to reach. And I guess the other limit is memory. You've got to be able to load the entire collection into your computer's memory. For most computers these days, that's definitely not an issue. Now, to look at the various entries that relate to the collection, the other one, Open. If you want to load a collection, you can go to Open. Collections are normally stored in the Collections folder inside your MQ Data folder. Choose any one that you want, double click on it, and it's loaded in. To save your current collection, just activate the window, go to File menu, it will say Save Collection. Choose that to save it, or you can save your collection as. You'll get a dialog open. Notice you're automatically placed in the Collections folder. Enter a name, press the Save button, and you'll save your collection under a new name. Print will print out the contents of your collection window as a list. So it will give you the name of the element in the collection, the type of data it is, the COM channel, the assigned port out, the date, data size, and so on. Now let's have a look at the collection window itself. The collection window, much like the other list type windows in Microsoft Windows, can have a number of different view modes. Right now you're looking at column mode, but you can also display just names or small icons if there are icons available to display, or large icons if they're available to display. Most of the time you will probably operate in column mode. It's the default mode in which the window opens, and it contains the most information. Now, under Name, each type of data that you load in, let's give you an example here. Let's load in a voice from a motif ES6. Here's our new entry. By default, the name will be the type of data, but you can actually change this to anything you want, because you can hold both banks and individual voices. You're not looking at, say, the name of the voice within the data you've loaded, unless you choose to type that in yourself. Here is the type of data. We've got a K1 patch bank, a DX7 voice bank, a Core Gem1 100 patch bank, and so on. The COM channel that each type of data is currently assigned to, the port out that each of these is assigned to, the date that the data was loaded and stored, the size of the data, the first 4 keys assigned to the data, and any comments you want to make. Now not all of this information, most of this information, with the exception of the data type, can be changed by selecting the data, pressing the settings button, and you'll get a settings dialog. Here you can change this to whatever you want. I happen to know that vanilla is the actual name of the patch. I would like it to go to a different port. Let's say in the future I know that the COM channel is going to be 4, and I can assign keys. I'm just going to choose a couple at random. And press OK. And there are the new keys. Oh, I didn't add a comment. Let's put a comment in here as well. And there's a comment. Now, once you have entries in your collection, you can actually sort them by clicking on name or type or COM channel or port out. Any of these entries you can sort by just by clicking on them. If you want to add elements to your collection, you can do that a couple of different ways. You can actually pick up one or more patches. I'm selecting several right now from an Explorer window. Drag them from the Explorer, drop them into the collection, and here they are now contained within the collection. And notice there are small icons here. I will explain them later. Now, the other way you can add data files to the window you've already seen. You can come to the studio, whatever you want to load, basically select that type and the instrument. So if you want a DX7 voice bank, select voice bank and activate. If you want a voice from say the motif, let's see if there's something else that we'd like to load. Let's pick up some system data, select system, and back to the collection, and press the Get from Instrument button. It's not going to load. Let's go back to the voice, pull that in. There's your voice. This is how you build up a list. To turn around, if you want to send the data, you can do a number of things. You can go to your Midi menu and choose Transmit Entire Collection, and every entry in the collection window will get sent. Alternately, you can choose specific items and either press the Transmit button or you can go here and choose the transmit option here, and again it will send out these banks to the instrument. Right now I have this configured to ask me where I want to store information, so I think I would like to turn that off. So now everything can be sent just by hitting the button, and it'll use all of the current internal settings. Let's have a look at this icon bar. You've seen it used in part. Transmits the currently selected item. This is a split button, and what this allows you to do is split the window, and that gives you, on the left side, a look at the actual data, and on the right side you get an editor for that data. So I can click on an M1 patch bank, K1 patch bank, an Unsonic program bank for the VFX, and so on. Or I can have a patch editor if a patch is selected. And I can go in and change values basically to my heart's content. All of the changes are stored back in the collection when you save it to disk. Close that back up for the moment. This is the receive button. It gets whatever type of data is selected from the studio window. And the settings button, which you've seen, you can choose any data file within the collection, hit it, and you get the settings dialog. Now let's have a look at all of the available options in the collection menu. Now you can access the collection menu either by right-clicking within the window, or from the collection menu here. Both menus are essentially identical, with the pop-up having the additional options to save the collection and print it from here. So, cut allows me to take an element and cut it, removes it from the list, and places it in a collection clipboard. And this data would be available from any other collection window. So if I take and create a new collection window and choose paste, there's my system data. To move on, copy makes a copy of the data and puts it on the clipboard. Copy as text actually takes the contents of the data and copies it to the Windows clipboard as text data. So if I'm right now opening up a notepad window, which I'll bring in and place here so you can see it. And now, if I choose paste, we don't get any data. Let's have a look at the menu options. Cut. Cut is used to remove the selected items from the collection and place them in the collection clipboard. The items can then most frequently be pasted into another collection. So we can cut this item from here, create a new collection, and paste that item into the alternate collection. Copy, again, makes a copy of the selected item or items, and you can then paste into another collection or into this same collection. The next option is copy as text. Now what this does is actually creates a text version of the SysEx stored in the selected items, and I'm currently just creating a notepad, and you can then paste this text in. This option is available for the sequencers where it is actually possible to paste in a SysEx message as text. You can do this in Cakewalk, and there are a number of Mac sequencers that will accept SysEx pasted in as text in this format. We'll close that up. Paste you've already seen demonstrated. It basically takes each of the elements that are currently in the collection clipboard and pastes them into the currently selected collection. Clear does exactly what you would think it would. Take the selected items, and Clear removes them. You're asked to verify the Clear first. Select all, selects all of the items. Open contains a number of sub-entries. Editor window makes a copy of the selected item and opens the appropriate editor window for the data. You notice it is a separate window. The data itself is completely separate. There is no link between the bank here and the bank here. And you can also open the data into a SysEx window for a SysEx view. And there is the entire bank displayed in its native SysEx raw format. Close those. Settings is the same as clicking the Settings button. It opens the Settings dialog where you have full control over all of the setup information. You can assign the MIDI in and out ports, COM channel, MIDI channel, and anything else that needs to be configured. New SysEx message opens a dialog that allows you to create any SysEx message that you would like. So if you need to make a small configuration type message that you want sent to a particular instrument, say one that is not being supported by MIDI-Quest, and you want to configure it in a certain way, you can actually create your own small SysEx message, press the OK button, and new SysEx message allows you to create a small custom message that can be sent out to a particular synthesizer to configure it however you want. This is most useful in a couple of scenarios. First, a synthesizer that is supported by MIDI-Quest, but you want to send just a single small message to set the synthesizer in some particular way. Alternately, you have a synth that isn't supported by MIDI-Quest, and again, you want to send a SysEx message to that instrument as part of the collection to set it up. So here, all you do is type in the SysEx message that you want to send, and you can press the OK button. You have two choices. You can enter the values either as hex or enter them as decimal. Your messages should be complete, valid MIDI streams, so you can, if you're entering SysEx in hex, you want to make sure that a message starts with an F0, ends with an F7. Alternately, you can work in decimal as well. And you can enter regular MIDI messages, such as you want to send a patch change. In this case, C0 10 would send a patch change of 16 out to the instrument. Press the OK button and you will get a new entry in your collection. Sort by gives you 5 different sorting options. You can sort the list by manufacturer name, instrument type, file size, which is the same as clicking on this column, time, which is the same as clicking on this column, or file name, which is the same as clicking on the name column. In each case, the list is appropriately reordered based on your selection. Now, disk contains a number of options. You can choose to load a data file, and this will give you a selector, and you can go in and select any data file you want and add it into your collection. Save data file does the reverse. If you've got a particular entry in your data file that you want to save separately off the disk, just choose it, press Save Data File. You'll get a selector, choose your folder, and type in the file name that you want it saved under. Now, link a data file is similar to load a data file, and let's go into, say, the DX folder, and we'll pick up this file. Now, if you notice, this file has a graphic, a disk icon beside it, as do these two. Now, these two, if you'll remember, were added to the collection by dragging from an Explorer window and dropping into the collection. These are called linked files. Now, a linked file means that the actual data in the collection is not stored in the collection, it's stored in a separate file on disk. So these three, every other file here, except for these three, the actual data for this file is stored within the collection. These three just contain a reference to another file on disk, and so when you send this collection, this file is loaded from disk and sent out to the instrument. Now, the advantage to doing this is that if you have, say, a single data file, this DX7 file or this M1 bank, and you want to use it in multiple collections, well, you could have this file or this data in multiple collections, but what happens if you go and edit it? Well, now you've got a problem, because you don't have to only edit it here, you have to remember that this same bank is being used in another collection, and you'd have to go and do the same edits to that same bank in the other collection. The alternative is you create a linked file. With a linked file, you just edit the one file, and the links are automatically maintained and updated, so you always send the latest current data for the appropriate instrument. Save data file and link is similar to save data file in that you choose a particular item and choose the option. Save data file and link, you get a file selector up, choose where you want to save the data, give it a file name, and in addition, what happens here is the file is actually made into a link. So you would get the same icon as these items, and you have a linked file that you can then use in other collections. You can reference it in other sets and also in other libraries. The final option is resolve links. And what this option does is, if I choose it, there, the links are removed. This now makes each of these items that was previously a disk linked file into a file that is data that is now stored within this collection itself. View mode. There are 4 view modes. There are columns as we're looking at them. You can view by name only. You can view by small icon. And you can view by large icon. Each of these different view, just like your Explorer windows. Most people tend to use the standard column view. Export. Export allows you to export data from the collection as Midi file, MIDI-X file, text file. You can export bank names and sonar data. All of this is covered in a separate export tutorial, since these features are identical to the library, to the set, to the collection, and to the bank. Now move to, which is our next option. And in order to move to, we will need to have at least one other data window open, so I'll create another collection. Move to is similar in concept to drag and drop, but you get a list of all the windows that you can move the selected data to. Just select where you want it to go, press the OK button, and it will copy the data into the destination window. This is sometimes easier than using drag and drop. It's just an alternate method. Some people prefer it. These options should be familiar to you now. The first is transmit whatever items are currently selected in the collection will be transmitted. This option transmits every single entry in the collection, and get from instrument is the same as pressing this button here, and it will load whatever data type you have selected over here in the studio into the collection. Save collection we've covered, save collection as we've covered, and print have been covered from the file menu. Thank you for viewing the collection demo. In review, the collection is a place where you can store data from any combination of instruments. You can have the same type of data from the same instrument stored many variations if that's how you like to organize your information. The collection is most frequently used to save a complete system setup for a particular song or piece, so that you have one file that has all the data. When you want to set up to play a particular song, you just send all of it out to the various instruments. They're configured and you are ready to go.